Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio with your host, Billy Willard, and the Blog Squatter. Strap in, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down.
Alrighty, folks, welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is Monday, July 6, 2009. I am your host, Billy Willard, out of Virginia. And just so everyone knows, the Blog Squatcher is on vacation this week. So D.B. Donlin will not be joining us tonight as the co-host. But I do have the one and only host from Beyond the Edge Radio, Mr. Eric Altman. How you doing tonight, Eric?
Good, Billy. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you for coming on the show and giving me a hand tonight.
Oh, not a problem. I got to apologize because your listenership just probably went down about 50%.
Nah, come on now, Eric. You know better than that. You know better than that. I tell
Thanks
you what,
for having me on the program
just so
tonight.
you know, I listened to your show for that first show you did on Dark Plains Radio, and I tell you what, the sound over there was superb.
Well, thank you, and I'm working hard to try to get you over to Dark Plains Radio too.
Well, you can keep talking to them folks, and if you can talk them into it, then I certainly would consider it. I mean, the sound over there is just amazing. So. Sounded very professional. The commercial break-ins and everything was very professionally done, and you guys done a great job on your first show. So my hat's off to you.
Thank you. It's FM stereo quality sound, and it's a big step for us at Beyond the Edge Radio for Sean Forker and myself. And thanks to everybody who tuned in. Thanks for tuning in yourself, Billy. And we're gonna have fun tonight. Yep,
we're gonna have a really good time. I apologize, everyone, that DB, who usually brings us some news, isn't here, so we don't have any news for you tonight. But that's okay, because
actually, Billy, if you don't mind, Billy, I do have a news story that some people might find interesting.
Okay, go ahead.
John Keel, who wrote the book Mothman Prophecies and Creatures from Time and Space, he passed away today.
Oh man! Oh wow! We've had a lot of people passing away here lately, man. Good
God.
It's
pretty sad news. He's a major influence to a lot of people in the paranormal world and cryptozoology when it comes to Mothman and other strange phenomenon. So very sad to learn about that from Cryptomundo today.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that. I didn't even, for some reason, I didn't get I usually get the Cryptomundo notices, but I didn't get that one. So, thanks for sharing that with us. My condolences go out to his family if anyone from there is listening. So, all right. Well, without further ado, I'd like to mention that we have a great guest tonight. I think a lot of folks have been looking forward to hearing from this fella. So tonight we have Mr. Tom Burnette. He is the author of the book Nature's Secret Agents. And Tom, I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the show, and I know a lot of people out there are looking forward to asking you some questions. Matter of fact, I've already got a person on the line already. We haven't even started the show. But I knew that was going to happen, but... So before I take that caller, just real quick, Tom, if you can just give us a brief overview of basically what is it that got you started in this strange field to a lot of us because, you know, a lot of people consider us all crazy nuts, you know, except for Eric. Tell us what got you started in this.
Well, basically, I had inherited some property here in the Appalachian Mountains, and it borders the National Forest. I live real close to Asheville. Actually, my property borders Pisgah Forest. And as I was walking over the property, there was two separate tracts. One tract was 100 acres, and another tract was 26 acres. I was walking an old timber boundary looking for a place to build a house. And I had walked to a far corner of the property, and there were a lot of very steep rock cliffs in the area. Mm-hmm. And my property joined with my uncle's on the right, and his property too bordered National Forest. Now, I had been in this area for about 2 hours, and I was fixing the old property boundary. It had kind of been torn down, and I was putting rock on top of rock on top of rock. And I heard something run off the top of the mountain all the way to a tree, and I was within, I'd say, 4 to 5 feet of this tree. Right. And I heard running on the other two adjacent ridges. I didn't see anything. Right. To start with, I just heard this running, and it stopped, and I grew up hunting, and I knew an animal in the wild wouldn't do that. Right. The next thing I do, I'm getting pelted with little berries and rocks. Right. I mean, not in a fashion where it's, whatever it was trying to actually hurt me. It was like it was trying to spook me off the ground. Right. And I was squatting when all this happened, and I looked up and stood up, and there was an oak tree about 5 feet at the most from me, and I saw a head. It was at least a foot wide. Right. I saw two eyes. They were probably anywhere from 4 to 6 inches between the eyes. Right. And it was the blackest eyes I'd ever seen, and it appeared very ape-like. It didn't have many human characteristics at all. Right. But as I stared at this thing for about 45 seconds because I was trying to figure out what in the hell was happening to me. Right, right. And you're not supposed to, but I didn't know what to do, and I'm sitting here staring at this thing. And, you know, I didn't know whether I was fixing to be lunch or what, but I just looked at it and said, okay, well, I'm going to leave. Now, it didn't take me too long to figure out that it wanted me to leave. Right. So I turned around about to poop in my pants, right, and walked back to the house. Well, walked back to my Jeep at that particular time. There was no house. Right. But I walked back to my Jeep at the time, you know, trying to figure out what to do. Right. But over the course of the next following years, I don't know how long y'all want me to talk before we interject something else, but over the course of the next following years to try and satisfy my curiosity, I sort of became a researcher out of curiosity. I ran trip cams, putting out food, trying to get pictures of these things. Right. And I was successful in getting some pictures, but not real good pictures. I'd get pictures of like hairy blurs running past it, and there was always something tearing up my equipment, right, or just, you know, just making shambles of anything I was doing. Right. But over the course of time, they started taking my food and would leave me. They would pile up little piles of acorns, mushrooms, and they did bizarre things. I would build fires, and after I built my house, I would build fires in the backyard at night, just sitting out there in the evening or something, you know, having a Coke, sometimes maybe having a beer or something. And they, after a while, they picked up on that, and they would literally bring and leave firewood all around the edges of my yard. Now that's pretty bizarre, isn't it?
That's pretty cool, actually. What I'll do, Tom, real quick, because we've got 3 folks on the line. We'll go ahead and start bringing some folks in here and see if they have questions for you. Thank you for giving us that background information. First one I'm going to bring on the line is from area code 757. You're on the air.
Billy, it's just me.
Oh, you're tuning in on the phone?
Yeah.
All right, I'll mute you back out, buddy.
Hey, wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
You might want to mention that there's a lot of people having problems getting in the chat, and that we know that it's going on, and so just so they know that you know. Okay,
all right. Thanks for letting me know that. I thought the chat numbers looked pretty low, so.
Yeah, I'm getting PMs from a lot of people saying they can't get in the chat.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for letting me know.
All right.
All right, folks. Yeah, JC just let me know that a lot of you folks may be listening are having trouble getting into the chat. Must be another one of those blog talk problems. So hopefully you folks will get in here. I will as soon as I have a chance, I will do a live contact to Blog Talk to let them know if there's a problem. But let me grab this next caller. We got a caller from the 936 area code. You're on the air.
Hi, Billy. This is Lori from Night Callers.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Great. I'm another person who could not get in the chat.
Okay, so you're just tuning in.
Do you mind really? I really wanted to hear this show.
No, not at all. It doesn't hurt the line at all. I mean, we can take tons of callers, so that'll be just fine.
I know. Okay.
So
well, thank you very much.
All right, thanks for calling in.
Good luck on the show.
Thank you. All right, and then we got a caller from the 304 area code. You're on the air.
Oh, hi, Billy. It's Nancy. I'm one of them, too, waiting to get in the chat and listen online.
Okay.
Glad to hear your voice. Hi, JC.
Actually, I've got Eric with me.
Oh, Eric. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Nancy. How you doing?
Good. How are you? How'd your new show go?
Really well. Thank you.
Good. I just got back, so I didn't get to listen. But anyway, just go ahead and mute me, and have a great show tonight.
All right, Nancy. Thanks for calling in.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Those are your girlfriends.
Hey, Tom, how did you guess?
I get them calls all the time, man.
Oh, man. If only he knew just how true that was, Eric. Anyway, we won't go there.
You bet.
Well, since nobody wants to ask me a question, can I make a comment about the Appalachian Mountains, please?
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Okay. From a historical standpoint, the Appalachian mountain range is the oldest mountain chain in the world. It's older than the Andes, Sierras, the Rockies, all of them. But the point that I really want to make is if there is, let's say, an extinct species, let's say Gigantopithecus, they're believed to be extinct ape, this would be the place for it. And that's what I do believe that I have. Now, I have a skull of an infant that I held in 1999. I went hiking one day, returning to my house very quickly. There was a large bowl of dog food, a great big pan. I've had 5 dogs at the time, in my backyard. When I came back, there was a baby that had just been birthed laying in right beside this dog pan. I don't know if I frightened the mother or what, or she left it intentionally. But I actually picked up a baby Yeti, whatever you want to call it, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, but it appeared to be it looked like a chimpanzee. I measured it. It was 24 feet long. 24 inches long, I'm sorry. It had a tail about 10 inches long. It had no hair on its body except between the 2 of the back shoulder blades. It had a little patch of black hair growing. It had no teeth, but the face appeared more like a chimpanzee. Right. Now, I took it and placed it back in the woods. I should have took a picture of it. I should have kept the thing and took it to a vet. But everything that I had been doing, my research and everything, what I'd set out to do when I held that baby, I don't know, I just felt sorry for it, and I wanted its mother to have the thing back. 3 weeks later, I took it and laid it in the forest hoping its mother would pick it up. She didn't. 3 weeks later, my dogs came dragging up what was left of it in the yard. I've got the skull, and I sent the skull. It lay dormant for about 8 years. I sent the skull last year to Timpson, Texas. It has been undergoing DNA analysis for over a year and 2 months. They have a sequence on the DNA. It is unlike anything they have ever seen. They cannot, it's a small lab. I'm not going to call any names because I don't want people harassing these people. I don't want anybody out there listening to this to be trying to look for these labs.
Right.
But
now, have they, just out of curiosity, Tom, have they provided you anything on paper at this point?
No, not at this point, but that's something that I can order. I'm letting the doctor there continue her work on it.
Okay.
Now, she sent me the skull back. I found a lab in Canada that specializes in ancient DNA. Like if they have, that's all they do is dig up this stuff that's 10,000 years old, and they're able to extract some DNA out of it. Right. And I sent it to Canada, and whether or not it's there yet, it could still be in transit. It might already be there.
Right.
But because of the fourth and everything, but they have a turnaround rate of 14 days. And I've spoke with the doctor and the lab examiner there, and they guarantee me some kind of a match.
Okay. Now they're going to match it. They're going to match. See, here's the thing that I've always thought, Tom, and tell me what your thoughts on this is. But I always thought that since we don't think anyone has ever discovered one of these creatures and have had an actual DNA run on it, how will they be able to match it to anything?
Well, I'm sort of kind of in the dark, kind of like you are. Right. But these people said that they do a universal DNA test, okay, which is going to cost me $500 out of my own pocket. I've already spent $230 in Texas. Right. So, but they do a universal test. Now, what that entails, that will, I'm sure it will probably entail all the creatures that are known to exist on the planet as we speak. Right. So, if this is an extinct species, they're at the same time they might be able to match it to something that they have extracted out of some bone or some skull that they've dug up. Now, whether or not some of these bones from this Gigantopithecus do exist, mm-hmm, that's something that I don't know. Right.
Now that the money that you're paying for the DNA testing, now you're paying that out of your own pocket, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've spent just in printing alone on my books and everything, I've invested out of my own pocket probably close to $10,000 and not retrieving a penny. When I first started this work, I looked for help. I looked for people to help me, and I couldn't find any. But now I've got the whole world wanting to help me. Right. And since I've had to go through this thing trial and error, I'm not really interested in any help. Now, I did have a team of so-called researchers come and visit my property about a year ago. Uh-huh. Now, they came out, and I guaranteed them I could get some activity, and I did. Right. But these creatures are so intelligent, they know what you're doing, when you're doing it, and what you're up to. Right. And they rolled. These people only stayed. They left, I think, on the third day. They stayed 2 nights, and when they left, they were scared shitless. I mean, I hate to use that word,
Right.
But that's the truth. They were afraid. They rolled a big log off the top of a mountain adjacent to their campsite, and I stayed with them.
Right.
Now, the leader of the expedition, he propped himself up at a Motel 6 up in Black Mountain, laying over there while his team members did all the work. But I observed them, what they did. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Tom, you just gave it away. We know who it is now.
Well, I don't want to call any names, man. I don't want to call any names, but these people are. I mean, I hate to say it. They could go to a house of prostitution and couldn't find what they're looking for. I think they're that.
I don't know about that. That might be actually easy. I'm gonna get myself in trouble. I better not say that.
But this bunch, man, he stole some of my books. I ain't gonna call any names, but he's just. I mean, a flim-flam man's a flim-flam man. That's about all I can say about it.
Right. Well, that's I tell you, no, probably at least 99% of the people on here listening to this show knows exactly who you're talking about. But I respect you not wanting to mention any names and things like that. So a lot of people can't stand who you're talking about. So we know.
Well, I was very naive. See, I've just now took this little step into the radio talk shows and kind of, I guess, the spotlight end of this thing, because the story that I have is so bizarre, and it's getting all kind of rave reviews. If anybody wants a copy of my book, it's only $10. There are some pictures of some Sasquatches in it, which I took, and you can buy it on Amazon.com. The name of the book is Nature's Secret Agents, and it's only $10, and you can get it on Powell's eBooks for about $7. So it ain't like I make $2 a copy.
Right. Now let me real quick. What I'm going to do, because there's a lot of folks listening to this show who may not necessarily be in the chat room. So first thing I want to do is give out the call-in number in case anyone out there wants to ask you a question, Tom. And that call-in number is area code 347-237-5070. I'll repeat that again, 347-237-5070. Eric, do you have any questions? Eric's been really quiet, and I don't want to leave Eric out of this. Eric, have you been listening to Tom? Have you built up any questions that you might have for Tom?
Not yet. The only thing I was curious about, Tom, is you mentioned when you found this stillborn fetus that it measured 24 inches long and it had a tail on it. This is the first that I've ever heard of a fetus being discovered, and a small.
This thing was alive. This thing was alive, sir. It wasn't a fetus. It was a breathing animal.
Okay, my fault. I misunderstood you. You said this thing had a tail on it. Was it more human-looking than primate?
No, sir. It was more primate-looking. It looked like a baby ape. And the hands, I didn't tell you about the hands. The hands were the same as our hands, and the feet were the same as the hands. So it was similar to, almost like a lemur type. I don't know exactly. You could put it in that category, I guess. You still there with me? But it wasn't. It had no human features other than that of say the face of a chimpanzee.
Now that brings up another question. All right, go ahead.
Sorry, Billy, didn't mean to cut you off there.
That's all right, go ahead.
Is it possible that there might be someone in the area that was raising wild animals such as chimpanzees or small primates that it might have gotten loose and onto your property?
Well, sir, anything is a possibility, but I live in a remote area, and like I said, I'll tell you something else that I hadn't interjected. I had an old man He's dead now, but he had been baiting bears on my properties for years before I came to the property, okay? When I moved on the property, it took me a long time to figure out what he was doing. He would take hundreds of pounds of bread, deer meat, and place them in strategic places close to the national forest and sneak in there at night and kill bears. Okay, I let this continue for the simple reason that I had seen one of these strange primates on my property. I continued feeding with the old man, but doing it in my own secret places so that he wouldn't be aware of where my cameras were. Okay, sometimes when I would go to feed, I would hear tremendous, almost like the forest being bulldozed down. I mean, when you hear something like that in the woods, it literally scares you to death. But I was so stupid with my curiosity, I can continue this. I continued feeding regardless of what was going on to try to get a picture of one of these things. I was on my back porch of my house, and one day I saw this dominant male, and it walked on all fours. It had a head like a baboon and a nose structure similar to that of a horse or a moose. Now, when its front legs moved, its locomotion, when the front legs moved together. The rear legs moved together, kind of like a rabbit would run. But it almost glided as it walked up my uncle's road. Now, when I saw this thing, I estimate that it probably weighed about 1,200 pounds. It sent such fear through me when I saw the size of this thing that my mind blocked it out for about 2 or 3 months because I couldn't handle it. But eventually, everything came back. So that's why I pretty well know what I've got. I'm not 100% sure that I've got the DNA of Bigfoot, but if I was a betting man, I'd bet 90% that I've got the species of something that is believed to have been extinct. And I think when this thing comes back, it's going to shock everybody to what it is that I have.
Right.
Bigfoot might be something completely different than any of us even imagine it to be.
Right. Well, can you do me a favor, Tom?
Sure.
When you get the results back from the DNA lab up in Canada, would you contact me and we'll bring you on the show and you can tell us the results?
Yeah, I sure will. But I'm not a scientist. I've been to college about 5 years. I don't understand DNA probably any more than you or your co-host does. I don't understand DNA labs. But whatever I've got, when I do find out what it is, I'll be the first to share it with y'all. No problem.
Well, I'd appreciate that. Eric, you got anything else? I haven't been watching this chat. I didn't know if you were watching it, Eric, or someone else. Has anybody had any questions in that chat room?
I haven't seen anything yet in the chat room as far as questions go. There's been a lot of chatter about Tom's discovery and a lot of varying opinions about the discovery. Thank you, Tom, for answering my questions, by the way.
Oh, sure. If y'all got any more, to shoot them at me. I'll try to answer them.
All right.
No questions so far.
No questions so far, but I'm getting ready to, I think I was looking at some stuff here now. I do keep up a little bit with what's going on at some of these forums, Tom. And,
right.
I know that you talked about, and this may be what you talked about just a second ago. You were talking about where you ran off a timber boundary in 1991.
Correct.
3 creatures in McDowell County.
Correct.
Is that what you were talking about a while ago, or is that something different?
No, that's the same thing.
Okay, that is the same thing. Okay. Now, you saw those, correct?
I saw one of them, sir.
Okay.
I looked straight in the eyes of one of them. The other two I couldn't see. I didn't see them, but I heard the running on the adjacent hills. And from the feeding, sometimes when I would go to feed, I would do, if y'all will buy my book, if any of y'all out there want to track the Bigfoot, it will tell you how I did it and what I did at that particular time in my life. So if any of y'all are interested in it, I didn't become a researcher by choice. It wasn't something I wanted to do. It's just that the circumstances were so bizarre, and my curiosity led me into it. But it is a very frightful, terrifying thing to get out there and try to do this work. I mean, if you're actually out there doing it, it is not something that's easy to do.
Right. Now, my other question would be, as you just mentioned how you were tracking it, so my question will be, do you actually track it, or do they find you?
Sir, these creatures, you do not hunt these creatures. They hunt you. If they choose to interact with you, it's up to them, not you, because they can move through the forest. In your line of vision, they can move and come up on you, and you'll never see them unless they want you to. That's how strangely adapted to their surroundings they are.
Right. Now, Eric, did you want to ask the question from the chat, or did you not see it?
Yeah, I saw a couple of questions scroll by here. Reverend Strone asked, was the tail haired, and did the infant have protruding or pointed canine teeth?
Sir, there were no teeth whatsoever. I examined the mouth. There were no teeth, sir. Most infants aren't born with teeth, all due respect. The only hair on the body, there was no hair on the tail. The only hair on the body was between the back shoulder blades, a little bit of black hair in the middle of his back.
Okay.
And there was a follow-up question from Reverend Strone who asks, have any of the adult creatures that you've seen had tails?
No, sir, I hadn't got close enough to examine their rear ends. When you see these things, usually, if you're lucky enough to see one of them, they're making some sort of an eye contact. They do blend in perfectly with the foliage. Most of the ones I have in my area, they're black, and that is a perfect camouflage color when you're dealing with the blacks and the greens and the browns and the gray in the forest. They blend in perfectly. One word to any of y'all amateur researchers out there, and this is to help you, if you're in the woods, I've spent 22 years in the woods. I go to sleep in the woods. I wake up in the woods. But if you are looking for a Bigfoot and you feel you're walking or hiking, you feel like something's watching you, take your camera, anything that appears black on the ridge lines or around you. A lot of hunters have developed a sixth sense when they're in the woods, and they can kind of tell when something's around. But if you see something black and you've got a digital camera, it ain't going to cost you nothing to take a picture anyway. Just snap some pictures of the ridges around you, anything that's black. Or maybe you think you might see a face in a bush. Take a picture of it, because all it's going to cost you is the time it's going to take to go down and see what you got at Walmart or something.
All right, let me grab, we got a caller on the line. Let me grab them and get them on here. Caller from the 318 area code, you are on the air. Well, no, wait a minute. It's not coming on. Let me try it again. Okay, 318, you're on the air.
Billy, I'm having a bunch of trouble with you. I have a question. I just started listening. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if I can, I just want to.
Not a problem. I'll put you back on. I'll put you back on mute, and you can continue listening to the show. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, it sounds like we've had a lot of people. I already told Blog Talk that they were having problems getting on the show, so they said they were looking into it. I hope they're trying to figure out what's going on with that. Typically, we don't have that many problems, but for some reason today we're having some issues.
Let me ask you a question. Now, is your show? This is the first. I've never listened to your show. I'm just asking you a question. Does it? Are people able to listen to us on their computers via the internet?
Yes, yeah. We have people that can listen on the internet. They can listen to the archives later as well.
Okay.
And then of course we have people in the chat room who will interact with us as they're listening to the show and ask us questions.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's definitely being broadcasted live right now, so everybody's hearing everything you're talking about. I guess what is your? I'm gonna ask you your opinion then, Tom. Since you've spent a lot of time in the woods, you've seen some of these things. You've handled an infant. You've and all this. So my question to you is, what do you think, in your opinion, this thing will turn out to be? Do you think it's some type of a human, or do you think it's some type of a primate? Now, granted, when I say that, I know we're all primates. But what I'm saying is, more on the human side or more on the ape side.
Well, I have done my homework on this subject. Genetically speaking, human beings and let's just say a chimpanzee, we're only 1% genetically different. So there's not a whole lot of difference. I mean, you could almost say that a chimpanzee is a different type of human. But to be completely honest, I think there is a flesh and blood creature more on the animal side. But at the same time, I think that's what I think I've got. I don't think this thing is human at all. But I think it's more primate than what you would say human. But at the same time, I believe that they are people in the forest who choose to live. I'm talking about just people. Like there might be small leftover pockets of Indians still living in the forest. And due to inbreeding, they could appear ape-like. Something similar to that of a Neanderthal man. Now, that could be a very distinct possibility, but that is not what I have, sir. I have more of, I think what I've got is a Gigantopithecus, which is the leftover ape believed to be extinct.
Okay. Now, I'm sure you've heard this, being that you have visited some of the forums and things. What is your opinion, actually, let me ask you if you have ever experienced this. Anytime that you've been in the woods, have you ever heard these things vocalized to where you think they're trying to speak or have a language?
Well, I did experiments when I would go to my area where I was feeding. For different weeks, I would whistle the same tune. I would, I might whistle, I wish I was in Dixie. And I would repeat that same tune for a week or two. At night, right when it gets dark, they or whatever would come in my backyard and whistle that same tune. Now, you talk about an eerie feeling, brother. That's an eerie feeling because I think that most of their activities are centered around nighttime. That's probably when they do all their hunter-gatherer things, whatever it takes for them to survive. While we're in our bed asleep, these things are working, doing whatever they need to survive. Number one, they have went undetected from human contact. We see them, but they're still undetected. They can intimidate and run off any predator I mean, if you see one of these things, you ain't going to sit around and see if it wants to dance or kiss. You're going to haul ass because it scares the hell out of you. And they're able to survive in our world without human beings being able to capture one. And nobody's really been able to kill one. Right. You know, I've got something, but it was just kind of a dumb luck that I run up on this thing that I've got. So I actually believe these things probably have an IQ probably very similar to that of human beings, that they're that far up on the scale.
All right. Any more questions, Eric, over at the chat?
Yeah, we did have a couple more questions. Okay. Let me find it real quick here. Night Stalker wants to know about the skull. Do you have any pictures of the skull before you send it to the labs? And who did assessments in terms of weight, size, brain cavity?
Yes, sir, there are pictures of the skull. I hadn't put them on the internet, but they are in my book. If you can prove to me you can't afford a book, I will send you one free. But you can get one for $10. The skull, I measured it up. When I took the picture and put it in the book, I measured it up against a tape measure. I can't remember the exact dimensions, but the skull, strangely, was very thick. It was thick. The back of it was kind of almost pointed. And I have a little piece of the backbone where the skull hinges on the top part of the vertebrae of the backbone. And it appears to be more quadruped, something that walks on all four, than a biped. But if you look at the locomotion of gorillas, they walk mostly on all fours as well and occasionally stand when, you know, threatened or trying to reach something.
Right. Okay, and you said you had another question, Eric?
Yeah, this comes from Morgan. Question is, what color was the skin? Was it all the same color, darker or lighter under the black hair?
The skin of the infant appeared to be, I'm trying to remember, the back was white under, I mean, there was only a little bit of hair on it, and the face and the front of the body it did have some pigmentation to it. It was, there was black, it was more black, but the back, strangely, was very white and pale looking.
Okay.
But the front did have pigmentation to it.
All right. Was that all the questions, Eric?
Yeah, that looks to be it for the moment. I'm scrolling through here. I don't see anything else asked, but if there is, I'll let you know.
All right. Did you have any more questions come up in your mind?
Not off the top of my head right now. This is just a fascinating conversation I'm listening to.
Okay. I tell you what we're going to do, Tom. Can you hold on a minute? We're going to go to a break and get everybody a breather.
Yeah. What time is it?
It is 9:43 right now, so we got about another 45 minutes to the show. If you can are you going to be able to hang on?
Well, as long as I don't bore anybody, I'll try to.
All right. Yep.
I'm standing beside an interstate, beside my Mazda Miata sports car, because I can't get a signal at home.
Yeah, I understand. Well, if you can hang on just a second, we're going to just go to a real quick break, and then we'll be right back with you. So just hold on a moment.
Okay.
And, we're going to go to a quick commercial, and then we'll come back and we'll have some more questions for you, because I've got some questions myself. So be right back.
Okay, buddy. All right.
Sasquatch Watch Radio. Stay tuned. Paranormal Talk Radio, bi-monthly, Wednesday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. Central. Paranormal Talk Radio divas Melissa Hovey and Monica Rollins, never afraid to tell it like it is. Too hot for prime time. 60 minutes of take no grab you by the balls. Paranormal Talk Radio. 8 to 9 p.m. Central, every other Wednesday night on Blog Talk Radio. Paranormal Talk Radio with an attitude.
Alrighty, folks, we're back, and just make sure that we still got Tom with us here as soon as I can get this switchboard to start working. You still with us, Tom?
Oh, yeah, I'm still here.
All right, very good, very good. I think I saw some more questions scroll across the chat room while we were in break, but before we get to that, I want to bring a man in who needs no introduction. Everybody who listens to these Sasquatch shows all know this fella, and of course we're talking about Mr. Bill Green out of Connecticut. How you doing tonight, Bill?
Oh, I'm doing great, Billy and Eric, and to your guest. I'd like to ask you a question to the guest. What the photos of the possible skull, the primate that you have in your new
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Please start over.
Try again, Bill.
Okay, do you have the photos of the possible skull in your new book?
Yeah,
I have a bit. I only got bits and pieces of that. There's a picture of my skull in my book, Mr. Green.
Okay.
That and like I said, if you can get it on Powell's eBooks for $7. Somehow or another, I'm reverberating. I'm hoping y'all are hearing me okay.
Yeah, I can hear you, Tom. I think Bill's got his computer up too high.
Okay, yes, something's wrong because I can hardly hear Mr. Green.
Okay. Wait, actually, Henry will call me. I'll call back and ask him more questions.
All right.
Yeah, ask him to call in on a phone.
Okay. Call in, Bill.
On a phone. I couldn't hear a word he was saying.
Yeah, I couldn't hear him. It was breaking up real bad, and it always happens whenever he uses that click-to-talk feature. It's just not a very good feature. Let me grab this other caller. We've got a caller from the 765 area code. You're on the air.
Hey, Billy. It's Dr. Onion.
Hey, how you doing, Linda?
I'm good. I just wanted to say that John Cartwright is the best Bigfoot hunter in the world.
I'll tell you what, I think somebody's paying everybody out here to say that.
Why are you building his ego up?
Hey, he's my friend, you know?
You're just inflating him.
Goodness.
We all know John Keating is the best Bigfoot hunter in the world. JC's number 2.
Who's John Cartwright?
I'd have to disagree.
Uh-oh, John. Tom Burnette just said, "Who's John Cartwright?" You're in trouble, buddy. You apparently didn't tell Tom Burnette who you are, man.
Hey, who's John Cartwright now?
He's the best Bigfoot hunter in the world. That's who John Cartwright is.
Well, you tell him that I said that we're all a few bricks short of a load. Anybody that weighs 200 pounds and going chasing after a 1,200-pound ape is an idiot, myself included.
I don't recall that he ever chased one.
Oh, man.
Well,
no,
I
he
am
didn't
going
chase
to say
one.
goodbye. No, he didn't chase one.
No. All right, Linda. Thanks for
Well,
calling.
has he ever kissed one?
You'd have to ask him that.
Yeah,
Bye,
right.
Billy.
I see ya. He's definitely had a sighting. There's no doubt about that. Let me see here. Let me get this. I got another caller here. Ooh, that's the same area code, so I'm going to have to give out 6 numbers on this one. Caller from the 936 area code with also the 3 prefixes 825.
Oh, am I on?
Who do we have here?
Who do you think it is?
That sounds like Thomas.
Oh, you'd be correct.
Dang on, I'm good. That's all that is.
No, I had a question for your guest. Not to be insulting or anything, so I apologize if I do beforehand, but after some of the hoaxes that we recently went through, what type of evidence are you willing to put forth to validate these claims that you're making? I mean, we just went through the Georgia hoax back in August of last year, and so we've all been burnt by Tom Biscardi and his crew.
Well, me included, sir.
I'm sure, but I'm wondering what you're willing to put forward as evidence to validate the claims that you're making.
Your name's Thomas, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thomas, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will validate every statement that I make in my book and subject myself to a polygraph if you'll pay for the polygraph. So you put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well, here's something for you to put in your pipe and smoke it. I'm on Social Security disability, so I make $900 a month, and I can't afford to pay for your polygraph. And I really don't understand why, if you have this evidence, why it has to be put in a book that you're selling, why you can't just come out with it on a website. I mean,
well, sir, I have just recently, the skull has been in Texas for over a year, and I do have a sequence of DNA, but it's the lab that has it, sir, does not have the capability of matching it because there's nothing to match it to. And they still have their sequence of DNA. They have it, and I'm sending it to Canada to a lab, sir. If you'd been listening, you might could have heard this earlier. I'm sending it to a lab in Canada, $500 more of my money, so that they can finish what this other lab isn't able to do, sir. Yeah, now, I would not be spending my money. If I would not be spending my money, sir, I would not be spending my money, sir, if I didn't think I had something.
How many times will you say the same thing? That's what I'm wondering about. But anyway, I understand what you're saying. I really do. And I agree with what you're saying. My problem is you're still just making claims. I mean, you haven't produced anything to validate.
Well, sir, let me ask you something, okay? If you see me publicly get out here and kill somebody, that's enough evidence in a court of law to send me up. Just you're visually seeing me do something. Am I correct?
In most courts, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, people see these things all over the United States, but the scientific community won't recognize it. I'm trying to get something done with this DNA. Now, if it comes back as nothing, then so what? Everything I've done is a crock of crap.
Well,
but as soon as the evidence does come forward, whether or not I produce anything or not, that's the big question we're all waiting on. But in my book, I've got pictures of these things that I took, and I've got documentation that I took over a 10-year period. I even started out working through a university here in North Carolina. So I'm not trying to pull any kind of crap.
No, I'm not accusing you of that. I'm just saying, on a general note for everybody in the chat room that listens later on, we have been hoaxed by the Georgia boys and whoever so many times that it's hard for us to accept claims that people make.
Well,
we have to see something. In other words, I mean, you can understand that, I hope. That
I do.
Okay.
Thomas, I understand that completely. Tom Biscardi, when the little bit of knowledge, I didn't know nothing about Biscardi, but with the small time that he visited with me, he went to Carlsbad, North Carolina. I picked this up, him talking to his people. He went to Carlsbad, North Carolina, and I don't know if he did, but he said he was going up there to look at some costumes. So I can assume that there's a possibility that he might have bought a suit. I don't know that. I'm not stating any facts. I'm just picking up on some kind of picking up on what happened about the same time he was visiting me, about the same time, right before this stuff in Georgia happened. And I could hear him on the phone talking to some of his people. Have you give this man $10,000 yet?
Yeah.
So evidently they paid these people in Georgia. I've spent almost $10,000 of my dollars out of my pocket just to try to validate something. Now, whether I ain't made a penny, not a penny. I've sold a few books. I make $2 a copy of a book, but no, I ain't trying to make any money. If the DNA comes back fine, then I might sell a few books. But even if it does come back positive, sir, all due respect, what is it going to be of if they can't match it to anything?
Well, it would come back unknown primate, I'm sure.
Well, time will tell. I don't. Everybody assumes that this Bigfoot thing is a primate because of that silly Patterson film. If anybody looks at that Patterson film real good, go home tonight and watch it after you get off the phone with me. I'm not saying, to me, that it looks real.
I think you're confusing my use of the word primate. I'm not suggesting that they're a big ape, but humans are primates as well.
Yes, sir, I understand that.
Okay. So they're part of the primate family, which we're all a part of. They have feet and hands, which is one of the distinguishing differences about primates, even ones with tails that we call monkeys. And so that's what the DNA would come back as. I mean, you made the comparison yourself that we're 98% genetically just like chimpanzees. So if they're closer to us than chimpanzees are, the results would come back primate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So at this point, I don't know, sir. I wish I had more that I could tell you, but I promise you this: whatever the results are, I will post them publicly, even if it turns out to be nothing.
Oh.
I mean, even if it turns out to be nothing, I'm not trying to pull anything or prove anything or say I've got something that I don't.
Well, forgive me again, but I'll just simply remain dubious until those results are published.
I don't blame you one bit, sir.
Okay.
And I would feel exactly the same way if I was in your shoes.
Well,
so I appreciate your questions and your comments.
Well, I'm trying to be as nice as I can because I'm sure you're going to take a lot of ridicule over this, but you're not going to get it from me. You've said some things that are very valid compared to my own experiences. That it's their choice, not ours, and they do stalk you. There's no such thing as hunting them because they do stalk you. I know this from experience.
Have you seen them, sir?
Yes, I have.
Where?
In Texas.
In Texas? What were you doing at the time? If you don't mind me asking you, but I just find it interesting that I'm getting to talk to somebody who's actually seen one.
I chose an area where I knew they were active from the tree and stick signs that I saw, and I simply sat in a chair and waited and see if they would make the choice to come in close to me or not. Was
it daytime?
Daytime and nighttime.
So how many, if you don't mind me just asking, how many days? How many days?
I've seen 5 of them in the last 14 months. 5 different times I've seen them. My family has 900 acres here in Texas, so it's a perfect location for me to simply sit in the woods and enjoy nature, which is typically what I'm doing. And I can't say I've seen them at night, obviously, because I don't have any night vision or infrared, but I've heard them come very close to me at night. making sounds that couldn't be mistaken for any other wildlife.
Right. What kind of sounds were they making, sir?
The bipedal footsteps, breaking very large limbs. I've heard with tree knocks and whoops. That's basically it.
Heard any bird whistles?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I've heard that too.
Right.
And
have you tried trip cams, sir?
No, I haven't.
Well, you can. I didn't have much luck with them. I'm currently not using one because they always. But it's a bigger piece of property as you've got. You can probably control accessibility. I would recommend using some trip cams, putting out some trip cams, and maybe putting out small amounts of food to see if you could. You're a candidate to be able to get some photographs of these things. But my experience with the trip cams is they seem to know what and why it's there for.
Yeah, I put out digital recorders and got recordings of them, and I do put out food for them that they come and take. You can see which direction they go off in because I'll leave it in the grocery store bag, which they will discard, but you never find the wrapper for the food itself. It's always gone.
What kind of food are you using?
Sandwich bread.
Yeah.
Entire loaves of sandwich bread.
Right.
Graham crackers, and I've also used bananas and apples and cherries.
Right. That's interesting.
So, and they always take it, and I always make sure that I eat some of it before I leave it so they can see me eat it and know that it's not poisoning, because I'm sure people have tried to poison them.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll eat the food, too, when I leave it. But
I'm not trying to insult you. I want you to know that up front. I'm really not trying to insult you. I'm just saying.
Oh, you hadn't, sir. We're fine. I ain't got no...
I'm just saying, after all the things that all of us as a whole have been through and listened to, it's hard to listen to the claims you're making and put a degree of validity to it when we haven't seen any evidence to support it. So until you put out that evidence, come forward with it so that everyone around the world can see it on a website. I have to, for my own sanity, I have to remain dubious.
Right. Well, I've got some pretty good pictures. The time you put them on the internet, I hadn't posted any of the pictures in my book, but you can clearly see the pictures in my book are of some ape-type species. They're the time I've tried to post pictures on the internet, but they get distorted somehow or another. The clarity of them goes, and you can't see as much. But you know, pictures aren't conclusive proof, but they do say something, sir.
Certainly. I understand.
Well, thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. You really got in here and got some information out, and I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for taking my call, Billy.
Thanks a lot, Thomas.
Bye-bye.
All right. We've got 4 other callers on the line.
Y'all getting me tired now, but that's all right. Go.
Getting you tired now?
Yeah, I was wanting to go to the beach tomorrow, but I'll be so tired I can't.
All right, we got 662 on the line. I bet that's Henry May.
Finally.
There he is.
Finally.
What you got for us?
Had to sit through Smiter, you know, and.
That's all right, Henry. He actually brought out some good questions for him, so that's fine.
Well, maybe.
He did good.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to ask the guest, how can you be so sure what you've got is the remains of a Sasquatch, considering that none that have ever been seen and none of the credible reports that have been put out there describe one with a tail?
Well, sir, I'm just basing it on the fact that the DNA lab in Texas cannot place the sequence of the DNA, and only on that fact at all. But, are you still there? I'm not sure I cut you off. Are you still there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, well, I didn't know. A little light came on my cell phone. Based on my experience, which, whether or not you believe me or not, the feeding that I was doing, let's say in the primate world, a mother, as long as she is breastfeeding, she will not go back she will not ovulate. She will not produce any more eggs. And if she's breastfeeding, I assume, now I'm assuming, I don't know why, that little baby monkey or whatever it's going to turn out to be was left in my yard. But in the chimpanzee primate world, in a lot of nature, the males will come in and kill the infants, sir, so the female will go back into heat so they can, have their fun, whatever it is that they want to do. But as long as she's breastfeeding, that doesn't happen. So I don't know that's the reason that it was left there. But I speculate, again, sir, I'm speculating that the skull that I have, the remaining bones, tissue, whatever it is that I have, again, I'm speculating. I'm betting, saying that I'm betting 90% that that's what I've got, simply because the lab can't do anything with it. And that's why I'm sending it to Canada again, sir.
Well, there's always the possibility that the DNA could be, that the remains could be so old that the DNA could be so corrupted that they can't get a sequence from it. That's always possible.
They've got a sequence, sir, in Texas, but they do have a definite sequence on it, and they don't know anything that they are known to have as far as the animal kingdom in Texas. They can't trace it to anything that's out here breathing and eating and running. Mm-hmm. And I will, sir, I tell you what I'm going to do. I will request Texas send the sequence to me, and I will read it back on the show in 2 or 3 weeks or the end of the month or something. I mean, that's the best I can do. But if the skull that I sent to Canada, if it doesn't get lost or stolen or somebody steals it, if it winds up, it only takes 14 days in Canada when it gets there to the university. And they have a turnaround period, and they've already guaranteed me they could put it in some kind of category for me, regardless. So in less than a month, sir, I'll have something. And if it turns out to be nothing, I'll tell you that's what it is.
All right, well, I guess that's all we can
that'll
have.
answer my question. Now, Bill Green is on the line with me, and I'm sure he's got some questions.
Hey, yeah, Bill. Bill's got a phone line now.
Okay. Hey, Billy. Yeah, Tom, about your book, you said that it's on Amazon and other websites, but you'd give it out for free if someone really couldn't afford it. I mean, are you in the chat room, or?
I don't know what you're asking me. Am I in the chat room?
Yeah, basically, I think what Bill's asking you, Tom, is he couldn't really afford the book, and he remembers you mentioning that you would give it out for free if
that's correct. That's if Bill. I mean, I don't want to. I've already given away 500 books. I ain't in this for the money. I am not wealthy. If the book sells well or fine, fine and dandy, I ain't made any money. But if Bill Green wants a book, I'll send him one. But all you got to do, just get Bill's address from him. I know he don't want to give it out over there. Get his mailing address, and I'll send him one, because I've heard of Bill Green, and I don't know that much about him, but I know he is. I think he's an author of numerous books. Am I correct?
Oh no, I used to do a newsletter called the Bigfoot Records.
Yeah, I'm aware of Mr. Green. Now, Mr. Crow, ask him if he's familiar with Mr. Crow that recently died.
Yeah, I know Ray Crow.
Is Ray still living, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, Ray, I sent Ray a copy of my book a few years ago, and Ray gave me a very highly recommended. He said my book was very indoctrinative of Sasquatch activity, and he read it and gave me sort of a pat on the back. You know, so.
Tom, could you give me your email address so I can email you my mailing address?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if that's something we ought to do on the air, but
I tell you what, Tom.
Because if a million, if a million people want a free book, I just can't do it, you know. But I'll send you one.
Hey, Bill, email me. If you email me, I will send Tom your address. So
Billy,
email me your address, and I'll make
sure. Yahoo Messenger Ozark 5 still?
Yeah, but I'll tell you what I'll do, Bill. I'll send you an email, and then you just reply and put your address in there.
Yeah, I got a new email now, Billy, though.
Okay. I know how to find you. Yeah,
it's BillGreen2009 at yahoo.com.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get in contact with you, Bill, and you can give me your mailing address. I'll get that to Tom, so that'll work.
And Tom, I got one more question. Have you talked recently to any people that might have had a possible sighting or footprint in your area where you've had these experiences?
Standard question.
Well, sir, I don't have a website. I have my book's just been publicly available for 2 to 3 months. There are numerous sightings here in Appalachia. I'm not up to date on what other people are doing in the sightings, but I do talk to the game wardens frequently. I work out with them at the YMCA, and they told me off the record that they have 4 to 5 sightings a year where people call in and and say that they see these things in national parks and while they're camping and stuff. And so now I've seen signs of them. I live in a small town named Old Fort, North Carolina, about 30 miles from Asheville. But I've seen footprints, human footprints, in Pisgah on the Blue Ridge Parkway. Big human footprints, which some of the other footprints I've seen down here are completely different. So I don't know if you've got 2 or 3 different species running around, or there's a difference in male and female footprints, or what. So
how many film footages do you have of possible Bigfoot?
I'm sorry, sir. I couldn't hear you.
How many film footages of possible Sasquatches that you have?
I don't have any, sir.
Well,
I have some photographs, sir. I've got photographs, but I don't have a trip cam with a camcorder in it as we speak.
Okay. But thanks for answering my question, and Billy, I look forward to your email.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in, Henry and Bill.
Yeah.
No problem. Y'all have a good one.
You too. All right. Let me get to these other callers. They've all been waiting very patiently. We got a caller from the, I think this is Nancy again, 304-527.
Yeah. Billy?
Now you've got a little hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, actually I had a couple questions.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, he said that the feet and the hands look more human, correct?
The feet look on the baby, the feet and the hands look the same, ma'am.
Okay, was the thumb placed more like a chimp or human?
I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't know why I can't hear you well.
Was the thumb placed on it more like a chimp's or a human hand?
The hands appeared almost identical to a human being, and the feet were the same as the hands. The feet were no different than the hands.
The question I had was, did you say was it male or female?
I didn't look for a penis or a uterus or a vagina. I was, that's one part of it. you know, you can hardly tell about a cat, you know, what's there. I didn't see a penis, so I'm assuming that it was possibly a female, but that's something that I don't know. That's some gray area there.
Okay, I still have a couple more questions, and I'll try to make it quick because I know there's other people. Okay, did you notice any foul odors like people associate with the Sasquatch?
Well, when the sightings that I've had with the bigger ones, the tree bangs, I've been run out of the forest more than once, do have an odor. With the infant, there was none, no odor.
Okay, and what about the neck? How was the neck? Was it a normal neck, or did you associate that with a Sasquatch?
Well, the neck on the infant was connected very...
Was it close together?
It was very close together to the shoulder blades. It was almost an appearance as there was very little neck at all.
Was the head pointed or rounded? Was it rounded?
I'm sorry, ma'am. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Was the head pointed like a Sasquatch, or was it rounded like a chimpanzee?
On the infant, it was rounded. It had no characteristics whatsoever of what you see as an adult. It looked completely different.
Okay,
you know, kind of like a... Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
One more question. I'm sorry. When I know there's other people wanting to talk to you. Did you hear any sounds at all, like growls or moans or anything coming from the woods when you found the baby?
Well, the night before, my dogs barked all night long, and I'm assuming that the female was giving birth in my backyard.
But you didn't hear any screams or anything?
No, ma'am, nothing. I mean, again, I'm assuming, but my dogs barked all night long, and which was where I live. That's a common occurrence, and you don't pay too much attention to it. But no, I didn't hear no screams, nothing out of the usual.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, and I'm glad you answered all my questions. I'm going to let you go because there's other people on the line waiting to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Billy, keep me on hold, please.
Okay, I will do that. Now we have a caller from the 419 area code. You're on the air.
I'm surprised you don't know who this is by now, Billy.
Indy. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, nothing much. I just called in to listen to your show. I was kind of late getting in. Something's wrong with the computer. I can't get into the chat room, so.
All right. Well, no, it's probably not your computer. It's a lot of people having problems, so something's going on with it. But I'll keep you on the line. All right.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks. All right. So let me get to the other caller, which is the 440 area code. You're on the air.
Hey, Billy. This is Sharon Lee. How you doing?
Good, Sharon. How are you doing?
I'm having a great time so far. This is pretty funny. Tom, I need to ask you, are there any medical research centers or primate release areas near where you live?
The only thing we have here is a nature center in Asheville, and they're real small. They don't even have a monkey. They've got wolves and cows and little goats and stuff. So that's about it.
I see. Okay. And you wrote a book?
That's correct.
What
it's more like I'm sorry.
What's the name of your book?
It's Nature's Secret Agents. It's available at Amazon.com. All you got to do is type in Nature's Secret Agents when you get there, and it's only $10. You can get a used one for $7. So it ain't like I'm making a bunch of money. Hadn't made any. It's just an unusual story that it's getting a lot of good reviews. You know, people aren't saying too many bad things about it. So I'm lucky in that respect. I'm not a writer by profession. The stuff that was surrounding me was so bizarre, I just couldn't let it go without writing it down, you know.
Well, why do you think that these things are happening to you? Are you in the right place at the right time, or what's going on?
Well, ma'am, it could be I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay.
It could be one of the two, but I just think that geographically, that they are in the Appalachian Mountains. Again, I want to make a note that this is the oldest mountain chain in the world. And even when Lewis and Clark made their trek all the way across America, they wrote in their journals of a large stone-throwing primate. So Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever you want to call it is not something that's new. This thing has been here and for God knows how long.
Right. Now, where you live, do you have many neighbors?
Well, where I live at, ma'am, I have built a couple of houses and sold them. I have one rental cabin, and even when I'm bulldozing, I can take a bulldozer or a trackhoe on my property and make a bunch of noise with the machinery, and when I cut the machinery off, I can hear a bunch of noise on the mountain trying to mock or make as much noise as that bulldozer. So they are very territorial. They know what a bulldozer is. They know what a trackhoe is, and they do not want intrusion. Now, if I'm lucky enough to prove that these things exist, I'll probably donate or give up my residence at some time to the Department of Interior so that they can turn it into something special.
So you truly believe you're not in this for the money, you're in this for the preservation of the creature?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, when this book came about, did someone approach you, or did you approach someone else to write this book?
Well, ma'am, when I completed my first journal, I'm working on a second journal as we speak. I went through the thing. I went to these little classes on how to get published, that kind of thing. I went through 2 literary agents that literally, when you go to a literary agent, a lot of them are out there and they take your money and they take your money and they take your money and they give you false hope. Well, I'm going to get this published. And one of them got put in jail. So I took all my material and threw it in a corner for about 8 years. I found a distributing house that distributes all over the world, and if anybody wants to, they can contact me if they're an author or whatever, and I will tell them how they can get published. I just went to a distributor, give them my material, and boom, if it's clean and you got a hard copy, they'll distribute it for you. It costs you about $100.
So you've invested quite a bit of your own money into this. Do you believe that if it is proven that these creatures are near your property or on your property, that the Department of Interior will offer you some certain amount of money for your land and you could move off to Florida and live on the beach happily ever after?
Well, that's immaterial too, ma'am. I'm happy where I'm living. I mean, I'm happy where I'm living. You know, I hadn't proved a thing. I hadn't proved anything, but if I do, no, the governor would be the last person that would offer you any money, any sizable money for actually what something's worth. I'm just saying that if, and that's a big if I do, I'll probably die and just give it away.
Right. And you said that the DNA test did come back as inconclusive, but you wanted to send them off to Canada to get another opinion?
Well, I didn't exactly understand your question. You're breaking up on me.
I am. I would never break up on you, honey. No, you said that you had sent your DNA off for examination, and it came back as inconclusive?
No, ma'am. It is. They have a sequence on it. They can't make a match to any known species in Texas. Okay. So I requested the skull back. I've sent it to Canada, and this lab told me, they guaranteed me, of course they're charging me out the yin-yang, they guaranteed me that they could make some sort of a match. Now, if it turns out to be a horse's rear end, I'm going to share that with y'all.
Right. Now, you say you're paying out the yin-yang. Where are you getting this yin-yang money from?
Well, that's It's my own personal savings, ma'am.
Wow. You're doing this
Nobody, I ain't got funded. I ain't got a dime from nobody.
Wow. How much does this cost exactly to send it off to get DNA testing?
Well, the Lamb County wants $500. One in Texas, I spent $200 in Texas and probably about $40 in mailing cost.
Right. Well, I appreciate you answering my questions. You've been very honest and sincere, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Eric, I promise I'm going to get to you. I've got one more caller I'm going to try to get on here.
If anybody's calling wanting to argue, I ain't got the energy or the time for it. I just want positive calls. Because I ain't about getting in a urinating contest with anybody.
You're getting wore out, ain't you? It's been 90 minutes.
Hey, this is a long show, man.
I know it is. 90 minutes. All right, I got this one more caller. Skype caller, you're on the air.
No, Billy, I'm just listening in. My computer keeps losing Blog Talk, so
okay.
I just thought I'd get on and just listen.
All right, not a problem. I'll put you back on mute. So, thank you, sir. And, okay, I've got everybody on hold. Now we can get the poor old Eric over there that probably has 20 billion questions.
Actually, when the chat room shut down, Billy, I lost a couple questions I had. But there was one question that I saw. Let me go back through real quick and see if I can find it here. Pittsburgh Reaper asked, Tom, how far do you live from the bear sanctuary?
Actually, I'm right on it, but I'm lucky because I had to buy my right-of-way into my property. It cost me $10,000 to develop a right-of-way, so there's no public access as far as Forest Service right-of-ways that the public could come in upon. So I'm lucky I can protect access where I live. So if a bunch of Bigfoot hunters want to come in here and cause problems, the creatures are very sensitive, and they don't like a lot of intrusion. But there's numerous places. There's another road that is there's another area off the parkway where there's a lot of places to camp. I mean, I think these creatures are all up and down the Blue Ridge Parkway. I mean, I think there's quite a few of them here.
And grab that one more question, Eric, there from Master KB. I think he's asked it a couple times. And then, well, real quick before we go off of live air, I just want everybody to know that next week we're going to have Mr. Bart Catino from California on the show. He's going to talk to us about the numerous times he's been all over the Pacific Northwest, and I think he's getting ready to go on an expedition. So we'll have Bart Catino from California on the show next week. Now, Eric, let me let you get to that question there.
Okay, this comes from Mater KB, and the question is, what city is the Canadian University lab in?
That's none of his business.
Fair enough.
Because I had a bunch of, I'm not trying to be hard, but I had a bunch of yo-yos in one of the forums, in the Bigfoot forums. They were asking me where the lab was. They wanted to call and verify that I have something there. You know what I mean? If my word ain't no good, what is? You know what I mean? But I don't want somebody calling the doctors or the lab up there to see what it is I got, because I'm paying for this. They ain't. But when the knowledge is available to me, I will certainly make it public, even if I've got a doo-doo.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've kept you long enough. Thank you for staying on the air that long, Tom. I really appreciate it. I know you went out of your way. We're getting ready to cut out live. Everybody, thanks for coming on and listening to the show. Y'all have a great evening. And Tom, again, I'd like to ask you if you, if you get when you get those results back, if you could email me, and we would love to get you on the show, and you can, just read us the results that they give you.
Right. Well, what I'm going to request a sequence from Texas.
Okay.
And I won't know what I'm posting. I don't know diddly squat about DNA, but I will request a sequence and make it public by the end of the month.
Okay.
And hopefully I will have the results from the Canadian lab.
Okay.
By then. And thank y'all so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Tom, and you be careful going home, bud.
All right, bye-bye.
Good night, Tom. Well, Eric, thank you so much. I tell you what, we really didn't have too much time to talk back and forth.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, it was great. I just wish I could have got a little bit more of you on the show, but I tell you what, it was between the callers and the fact that he likes to share a lot of information, there really wasn't much time.
A very popular guest tonight with a lot of information, a lot of claims, and I have to agree with Smiter. I'd like to see some proof. You know me, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Well, that's all we can do, and I've just pulled the best Bigfooter in the world on the line. He requested presents.
That's right. I just had to let Mr. Burnette know that damn right I'm the best Bigfooter in the world. I don't care what he says.
Oh, that was pretty good. But anyway, I think it was definitely an interesting show. And folks, I'm not the type of person who will try to, and I'm hoping everybody knows this, but I don't try to insult anyone. I don't try to tell someone they're crazy or anything. Obviously, if Mr. Burnette is, certain that he has had these experiences, if he thinks he's found something, obviously he sent something off, regardless of what it is. Hopefully we'll get the story soon enough and find out what it is that he sent off. There was a lot of claims made on the show tonight, and I understand that, and it's very hard to believe everyone's story, I will admit. But just to let you know, when we bring a guest on the show, we let them speak their mind. We let them tell us, because obviously you all don't want otherwise. You don't want him to come in here and just start, for example, when he gets on the forum and he answers questions, and it gets twisted each and every different way. This way we get the guy on the air, he tells it, makes his claims, tells us the story, gives us the opportunity to question him live rather than behind a keyboard. So, he seemed to answer the questions. Yes, I picked up on a few things that, personally, that I thought that he'd answered differently. For example, with the infant head, I could have swore that the first time he said that it had a pointed head, and then the second time he said it was rounded. I don't know. Eric, did I hear that wrong? Or?
No, I missed that part, Billy, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But you can always go back to the archives and listen to it again.
Right. So anyway, this is on the archive, so, I'm pretty sure that that's what I heard, but don't hold me to that. Again, everyone can listen to the archive to find out, but it was nice of him to agree to come on the show, and I appreciate him coming on the show and telling us his story. So anyway, Eric, it was great having you on the show tonight. Thanks for JC. Thanks for asking Eric to come on. I don't know why JC didn't want to do it. I guess he was, I don't know.
You're glad. I'm glad you did, because I got booted out of the chat room most of the night.
Hey, I got booted myself. I got booted from the chat room and from the switchboard. So.
Billy, don't forget to mention that we are keeping it in the family that Eric is a member of Sasquatch Watch now.
That's right. Eric Altman is a Sasquatch Watch of Virginia member, and we're proud to have him.
And I'm honored to be a part of Sasquatch Watch of Virginia. It's a real cool thing. And you guys are both PBS members, so, hey, JC's right, keep it in the family.
That's right, man. That's right. Well, thanks JC. Thanks, Eric, for helping out on the show. And
my pleasure.
We'll see everyone next week when we bring Bart Catino, which we all met up in. I know you already knew him, Eric. That was the first time I'd met him personally.
Bart's a good guy.
Very nice guy. So we'll have him on the show next week, and he's going to tell us about all of his adventures in the Pacific Northwest, as well as a little bit of information about what he's getting ready to do. He's getting ready to go on an expedition. So we'll look forward to that next week. Eric, thanks a lot. JC, thanks a lot. And everybody have a great evening.
Good night. It was
fun. Billy.
Good night.
A legend silently stalks the forest around the world, leaving giant man-like footprints in its wake. Skeptics scoff, while the true believers search for the answers, and those who have seen it will never forget. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Blog Talk Radio. Billy Willard and the Blog Squatcher present Sasquatch Watch Radio. Your hosts Billy Willard and Dee Donlin bring you 60 minutes of the latest news and information, newly discovered evidence, and interviews with those searching for the truth and those who have seen it. Do you believe? Want to know the truth? It's out there waiting. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Blog Talk Radio. Sasquatch Watch Radio. Sit down, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down. blogtalkradio.com/Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Be enchanted this holiday season at Meadowlark's Winter Walk of Lights. Gather your friends, family, or that special someone and enjoy a leisurely half-mile walk along an elegant paved garden trail aglow with countless sparkling lights, and see Vienna's Meadowlark Botanical Gardens as you've never seen it before. Sparkling. Your holiday season starts now. Don't wait any longer because capacity is limited. Reserve tickets today and be enchanted this holiday season at winterwalkoflights.com. That's winterwalkoflights.com.